everyone, it's Mike from South Africa. On today's video, I wanted to show how to do a tubs and tubes setup for your new colony. I would recommend doing this once your colony reaches about 10 to 20 workers or nanatics, which are your first founding members of your new colony that your queen raises. So this is a very inexpensive method, especially for people that have very few resources at their disposal. Obviously now you would need your first test tube, which will basically, you'll remember this was now the test tube setup that I did from the previous video. But basically you'll have your queen ant in here with her workers now and her eggs. So basically once your workers have reached between 10 to 20 workers, you'll notice that feeding them in this test tube does pose a challenge, especially for escapees. So a lot of times this is where now a lot of us look at expanding their setup into either, for example, a tubs and tubes setup, or attaching an outworld, in which means that you'll attach this to a little open space that's enclosed for the ants, but I'll get to that later. So like I said, a very inexpensive method. You can literally use any plastic container, any Tupperware. What I do recommend is that you do use something that has a rubber seal around it. Case in point, this. Now in here are my my Formicaria natalensis, which is also known as drop-tail ants. They're currently in a tubs and tubes setup, as is the point right here now. What I will show you before I open here, ants don't need a lot of oxygen, so I did make a little hole in here, plugged it with some cotton, which a lot of you would think this is not enough, but it is enough for the ants. So let's open it up here. I'll basically show you the tubs and tubes setup that I have for my drop tails, and that's basically it. You see you've got your test tube with your ants in there. What I did do to just add some, exploration things for the ants, because a lot of the times the ants will use now the ground that is available to plug up the hole a little bit, as is the point. So basically use some soil from your garden, from outside, excuse me, and for the bottom of the container first with a bit of that. Then what I would recommend is take your test tube, attach a little bit of a press stick. In America, and I'm sure in other countries, it's known as blue tack. So any basically form of a sticky substance that you can stick to the container, which you might be able to see right here in the corner. I've got there, that's basically, oops, it's got there at the bottom, and that's it. Place your test tube inside, pull out the cotton wool, and let your ants explore. Now you will notice that I have attached a little piece of wood here, which is basically what I do feed the ants on. Feed them some honey, or some mealworm, chopped up mealworm that I've got right now. So that's basic. That's it, guys. It's a very inexpensive method. A lot of the times people would already attach a test tube to something such as this, which is basically, if I could just put this side, which is basically this. Now these are my Camponotus cosmicus. Sorry, the camera doesn't seem to want to focus. Let's see if I can get it to focus a bit. Nope, not working with us today. But anyway, this was their founding chamber, their test tube, as I showed, and I attached it to this, which is attached to their outworld, which is pretty cool. Very easy to feed them. If you guys are interested, this outworld and this test tube connector is from Antshack. So yeah, I did buy this a couple months ago already. You can see I'm already bothering the ants. They already want to move to the darker side of the moon. Anyway, so yeah, eventually you'll notice that the water has dropped significantly. Eventually I am gonna have to attach another test tube to here, which they NSHAC does sell connectors, and then basically tempt them with another test tube that hopefully they can move the whole colony to the test tube, and then take this one out. Alright guys, as I said, this does cost a little bit more, especially if you have to wait for courier and whatnot, depending on where you live in the country. But like I said, the setup very inexpensive. A Tupperware that I had right here cost me roughly $50. I do know that you can find it a lot cheaper if you're in South Africa and you go to what we call a Chinese mall, which is basically now a lot of Asian shops now in a little centre. They do sell very cheap Tupperware. This is now the rubber seal I was referring to, which is very escapee proof. A lot of the ants, especially if you've got smaller species, a lot of the smaller species can basically crawl over this and out here. So this is why I would recommend a rubber seal. So guys, I hope that helps. Very easy setup to do, very hassle free. You just need to make sure that you have a hole here, or you can even do on the top. But the reason why I made a hole here is for future expansion, so that if I wanted to attach now another vinyl tubing from here to maybe an outworld, or if I wanted to basically get them to move from this tubs and tube setup into something more future proof, I could attach it with the vinyl tubing here at the bottom here, and then attach it to the new outworld or nest FORMICARIUM. So guys, I hope this video finds you very helpful. I appreciate any comments or suggestions for future videos. Thank you. Enjoy.